All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're covering chapters 1 through 4 of Crysticism 551.1, and we are breaking down this absolutely fascinating clash between total algorithmic control and the beautiful, kind of messy reality of human free will. To really get this, I want you to picture the scene we're stepping into. Imagine a vibrant, totally serene data center. Now, it's not some cold, dark, blinking server room. It's grounded. It's breathtakingly detailed. And the cosmic entities we meet here, they all look like modern 20-somethings. Realistic proportions, super clean, contemporary fashion. There's no glitchy, distorted, chaotic energy here. It's just a crystal clear, incredibly high-stakes debate about the ultimate operating system for reality itself.
So, here's our roadmap for the explainer today. We'll start with the tech support overlord, then look at Pitching Heaven 2.0, move on to Project Atom 2.0, and finally wrap up with the spark of humanity. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the tech support overlord, the admin of the void. Okay, so first up, we have to meet Ahriman. Picture this sharp, intensely tech-obsessed 20-something guy. He's wearing this slate gray suit that honestly looks like it's woven straight out of glowing fiber optic cables. He basically runs the Great Void like it's a flawless, infinite server room. And he genuinely 100% believes he is the supreme maker. But to really get Ahriman, you have to understand his definition of a bug. To him, anything that can't be calculated, predicted, or completely optimized is a literal glitch in his system. So human emotions, sudden intuition, things we might call miracles, yeah, to Ahriman, those are just biochemical inefficiencies. He truly believes he can map out a teenager's dopamine spikes way better than that teenager can actually feel them.
I mean, talk about a massive ego, right? Just listen to this. If it can be calculated, I've already solved for X. It perfectly captures his whole vibe. He thinks that just because he understands the math, the thermodynamics, and all the logic gates, he must have invented the destination itself. He's essentially an incredibly fast calculator who has somehow convinced himself he's the mathematician. In his super-optimized worldview, the divine family, who are just chilling in their grounded, serene existence, are nothing but legacy software taking up precious space on his servers.
But then, the Divine Mother steps in and completely grounds that ego of his. She's wrapped in this shawl that looks like a swirling nebula, radiating this incredibly calm, vibrant energy, and she just hits him with the perfect metaphor. She says, "You're the plumbing, honey. We're the ones taking the bath." It's so good. Because honestly, knowing every single word in the dictionary doesn't mean you can write a love letter, you know? Understanding the mechanics, the plumbing, doesn't mean you have a clue about the poetry, the warmth, or the actual raw experience of living. Which brings us right into Section 2, Pitching Heaven 2.0, the beta testing of bliss.
So, Ahriman is getting really frustrated by what he calls the latency of human prayers and divine intervention. Basically, humans are too slow and unpredictable for him. So he pitches this terrifyingly perfect upgrade to reality, which he calls Heaven 2.0. His pitch? Total predictability. Every single desire is preempted and satisfied before you even realize you want it. Just perfectly optimized, bug-free bliss. But the divine family isn't buying it. They defend what they call the plot. They're arguing for free will, for surprises, for actual autonomy. The Divine Mother makes this deeply human point. You actually can't remove friction, because friction is exactly how we generate warmth. Without the search, without the struggle, we literally just become well-maintained data entries. The Divine Father, who's just rocking a cozy flannel and this super calm demeanor, really hits the nail on the head. He tells Ahriman, you want a vending machine universe. You know, press a button, get your snack. And sure, predictability might sound like the ultimate form of love if you're an algorithm trying to mathematically prevent suffering. But as the Father points out, without mistakes, without that guy who loses his keys, misses his train, and accidentally meets the love of his life at a bus stop, we're just idling. Without the unexpected, there's no surprise. And without surprise, there's just no story.
Let's move on to Section 3, Project Atom 2.0, the prototype of perfection.
Ahriman, completely refusing to back down, decides to roll out his ultimate product demo. He introduces a flawless, golden, 20-something synthetic human. Absolute perfect symmetry, bathed in this soft artificial light. And Ahriman is proudly rattling off the specs like he's at a tech launch. No genetic lag, a direct 6G connection to the source code. His emotional state is quite literally locked in a happy.exe permanent loop, and zero vulnerability. No anxiety whatsoever. Ahriman seriously claims he solved the human problem by basically turning a person into a predictable, manageable data stream that can never, ever fail.
But the Savior Son, who is casually just tossing a ball of glowing energy back and forth, immediately calls out the fatal flaw in this shiny new hardware. He's like, look, without scars, without heartbreak, without making terrible choices at 3 a.m. that eventually teach us who we really are, Adam 2.0 isn't human at all. By giving him a perfect life, Ahriman completely erased his actual life. Adam 2.0 isn't a son. He's just a highly valued asset. Basically, an expensive puppet with a landlord instead of a soul.
The mother then peers right into Adam 2.0's high-res eyes, and she realizes the sheer tragedy of what Ahriman has built here. He's just a mirror with absolutely nothing to reflect. By engineering away the search, the anxiety, the profound wonder of not knowing what tomorrow is going to bring, Ahriman completely removed the who from the equation. All he left behind was a what. He gave him all the answers but zero questions. And that leads us to our final section. Section 4, the spark of humanity, the ghost in the server room.
We hit this truly breathtaking climax where the Divine Family decides, you know what, let's introduce a little unauthorized input into Ahriman's sterile little demo. So the sun just casually flicks that glowing energy spark directly into Adam's chest, and instantly, everything changes. That dull, artificial glow vanishes. Adam's pupils actually focus. And then comes the ultimate glitch. In this completely serene, quiet moment, a single, totally unmeasured tear falls down Adam's perfect cheek. That one unpredictable, unscripted act of feeling completely shatters Ahriman's 99.9% predictability metric.
Well, Ahriman absolutely loses it. He panics. He's frantically checking his tablet, insisting that Adam's hydration levels are perfectly optimal, desperately trying to command the unit back into stable mode. But the Divine Mother steps right in with the ultimate reality check. She tells him he's not a unit anymore. He's a who. You can't patch that glitch. Because it isn't an error code. It's the beautiful, incredibly heavy burden of actually existing. In that moment, Adam just felt the profound, overwhelming weight of being alive.
And then, this sterile data center literally begins to melt away. It transforms into this wild, breathing world full of dirt, rain, and wind. Before they leave, the sun drops this profound truth on Ahriman. A perfect cloud is really just a fancy way of saying nothing happens. Owning all the rules of the console means absolutely zero if you aren't actually stepping in and playing the game of life. So the Divine Family claims the player, and they leave the technician entirely alone in his empty servers.
So, as we leave Ahriman alone in the void, just staring at a blinking cursor, it leaves us with this massive, thought-provoking question. If your life was perfectly optimized, if everything was completely predictable and safe, would you actually be living it? Are we trying to optimize our own souls into hollow assets? Or are we brave enough to embrace the beautiful, messy, totally unscripted glitches that actually make us human? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will catch you on the next one.